celebrating the 37th birthday with today's playlist theme of the debut LP from REM back in 1983, Murmur, back in the day. Guy who I know remembers that one pretty well. Cecil Hurt at the Tuscaloosa News and Tidesports.com joins us right now on the Peterbrook Chocolatier studio line. And Cecil, you've probably heard this before, but you do in fact have a doppelganger. I'm not sure if you know who that person is, but I got him for you if you haven't heard it.
Okay.
Peter Buck, lead guitarist for REM.
Okay.
That's your doppelganger. Have you heard that before?
There you go. I have not.
Okay.
All
right. Well. Hey, look, there's worse than Peter Buck out there. Now, I'm talking
Absolutely.
about.
I'll take that in a heartbeat.
You tell you, hey, if you could walk into a tavern and sell that, a Peter Buck, lead guitarist for REM, that wouldn't be a bad deal.
Unfortunately, they'd hand me a guitar. I'd have to say I'm a professional. I can't play the game.
Right up until they asked you to plug in, you'd be okay, right?
Absolutely. And very nice REM selection that is not End of the World as we know it. So.
Oh gosh, that one is unfortunately
probably going to top the charts again here shortly.
It's shown back up on the charts, hadn't it? Here of late. Oof.
I think so.
We didn't want to see that one under these type of circumstances, no doubt. Hey, Cecil, while we're at it, we're talking favorite fish, culinary. What do you got for us? I think I might know, but you might surprise me.
Yeah, it depends. First of all, fresh fish wherever you are. So around here, snapper. Probably redfish and snapper would be my favorites because they're Gulf fish, and you get them fresh, and somebody blackens up that redfish or that snapper, or grills that snapper the right way. It's hard to beat.
Yeah, it's good stuff. There's no doubt about it. Hey, Cecil, looks like it's going to be a pretty busy day for Alabama men's basketball as we crank up the late signing period. I see where I guess the official Alabama men's basketball Twitter account has announced Jordan Bruner as an addition for the 2020-2021 class.
Letter, but he signed the institutional financial aid agreement. So
there you go. So let's sort of kind of recap how we've gotten here over the last couple weeks. Been a very prolific type performance here, I would say, in making this all come together. What do you like best about what Nate Oates and the staff has been able to do here in the not only the late period, but also with a pretty nice pickup in the early period as well?
Yeah, I think probably the important aspect of it is that they didn't just go finding bodies. They didn't just take whatever guys they could get. They really did try to address needs, which were certainly, somebody around the basket, rebounds, more of a scoring threat, and then to get longer, more athletic on the perimeter. Also find somebody who could be a backup, or I think of it less as a backup and more as an associate point guard, in helping out with Javon Quinterly. I think unless Kyra shocks the world and comes back, I think JQ will be the point. But you've also got Primo now who could play some of that, and then if Herb, as anticipated, comes back, and we'll see, how that works out. But that gives you enough ball handling, I think.
And it is, right? It seems like we're more and more into that era of not so much talking about point guards as the way we used to acknowledge them, kind of the traditional point guard. It's really like a lead guard, right? Combo guards, guys that you feel comfortable putting out there together, whether their designation is 0.2 or even the 3 in some instances.
Right. I think Oates likes that versatility. You know, he's not really one to, other than point guard, which you sort of have to have a one. You have to have a lead dog in that situation. But I don't think he makes much of a distinction between 2, 3, 4. Maybe a little bit different at 5, but doesn't always have to play a 5. So I think what he's more interested in are guys with length. I think he does want size to be able to defend and rebound, but also who can shoot the basketball and are athletic in the open floor.
Of these guys, Cecil, who do you kind of look at the 5 and think he's going to be most important to Alabama's chances of achieving the postseason in 2021? Is there one of these guys that you look to in terms of impact and say that's probably going to be that guy?
Well, you don't bring in a grad transfer to sample the popcorn. That's not what he's there for. He's there to play. And so I would say Bruner probably first. Certainly Primo, if he lives up to expectations, would be important. But I think that they really needed, and again, a lot of this is just based on highlights of film. But one of the additions, in Keon Ellis, I think is that he's an athletic guy who go up and shoot it, can really shoot it, but is also strong, physical, grab a rebound and dunk it like the guards that LSU plays with. Those guys, not just Mays, but Darren Day and guys like that who are just athletic, tough. I think that they wanted more of that in their repertoire, and I think that he gives them that. Be interested to see with the other two, the longer forwards, Miles, and I think Miles and Hilton, who'll both be freshmen, certainly can contribute next year, but I think they're more long range than they are just immediate impact. But I think the other three, they're really counting on to step right in.
We've talked about Alabama's trio of players that are working through the NBA draft process: Kyra Lewis Jr., John Petty Jr., Herbert Jones. And with a couple of those guys like Petty and Herb, you don't really see them on any first round mocks, maybe Petty in some second rounds. And so in previous years, it would seem to point more towards maybe overseas and maybe the G League after that. But now we're hearing, at least, Cecil, that the G League is looking to up its annual salary to somewhere in the neighborhood of $125,000 per season. If you're Nate Oates or a college basketball coach, does that sort of concern you with that potential there?
Well, it gives guys that don't want to go to college, didn't want to go to college, another option, which I don't know. Maybe it concerns you. Depends on what level you're recruiting at. Not everybody that can just say, well, I'm going to go to the G League to get $125,000.
Right.
Just like the NBA, it's a limited number of players. And the G League, I think the standard salary for G League is going to stay at $35,000. But some guys, if they're what used to be one and done, if they want to go that route, then they can get $125,000. And more importantly, if they're looking like fast track NBA guys, they can get a shoe deal. They can get apparel deal, whatever. They make a lot of money if that's the way it works out for them. I don't know. I don't know that it's any different than it was when you had one and done. When LeBron came out, didn't play in college. Kobe came out, didn't play in college. That probably frustrated you if you were going to get LeBron or if you were going to get Kobe. But for every for every one coach that was going to get him, there were going to be 30 coaches that were going to have to play against him. So I don't know that it concerns you too terribly. I mean, certain players could do it, and you won't have those guys. But I would think that might have more of an effect on a Kentucky or a Kansas than it would on an Alabama.
See where E.J. Montgomery kind of completed that clean sweep for Kentucky today in announcing he's leaving the Wildcats. It sounds pretty tough for UK, Cecil, until you consider, I guess, Cal's got 6 top 50s coming in right behind them.
Yeah, they're different than anybody else in terms of the way that they turn over. They would like to have had a couple of guys like that back. Obviously, Nick Richards was a guy that came back, had a good year for them. You'd like to have some experience, and at the same time, of these 6 guys coming in for them, probably 4 of them are first rounders, so they'll be okay. Don't know what it does depth-wise to them, and you'd certainly rather catch them early rather than late. So, but they'll have a point guard, they'll have a big guy. Just have to see, at what level. They hadn't had they had really good players. They had really good players this year. They're not going to get an Anthony Davis every year or Karl Anthony Towns, but they're getting 4 of the top 25 players in the country every year, adding some other guys who think they're NBA guys and do a good job of molding a team. But Cal's never without a point guard or without a inside presence. One reason why I don't worry that much about Alabama's football recruiting right at the moment. Nick will get guys.
Better pro, in your opinion, Cecil? Ashton Hagans of Kentucky, the point guard, or Kyra Lewis Jr.?
That's a good question. Kyra's got to get bigger, but I think Kyra's got more offensive upside than Hagans. Shoots the ball better, quicker up and down the floor. Hagans a great defensive player, much better defensive player than Kyra is right now. So
further along physically.
Further along physically, stronger. So it depends on what your team needs are. But if you're looking for a guy that can push the ball and score and is still just turned 19 years old, Kyra's a pretty attractive prospect. If you're looking at a guy who come in ready to defend at that level, I would say, hey.
Cecil, we were taking on residents of our Tua Island, it seemed like, there for a couple weeks. Now it looks like we've got some deserters. We've got some folks leaving us here down the stretch as we get closer to that NFL first round a week from tomorrow night. What do you make of all that, Cecil?
Jumping on that Justin Herbert post.
Yeah.
To get off of Tua Island.
Yeah.
I think a certain percentage of it is the usual gamesmanship, that you hear every year about whether you can take should you take a Josh Allen, should you take a Trubisky, and remember, for all the brilliance and genius of anonymous NFL draft scouts, look where Mahomes got taken.
It's true.
And, so they aren't just gifted with rare perception. Ones that are gifted with rare perception are working, not doing radio shows. But Mahomes, who said I'm trading up for Mahomes in the 1 spot? Nobody.
Nope.
So there's a huge amount of uncertainty. Again, the reason that you would not take Tua is you're worried about his health situation. That's the only reason. Beyond that, I'm not wavering. I would take him certainly before Justin Herbert. I would take him before Burrow. But some guys, somebody's going to be bold and take him, and some guys are going to, be a little bit more conservative and say, I can't risk my job because I don't know whether he's going to be healthy. I've read it all. I've read everything. He takes harder hits than Mahomes does, or Russell Wilson, whoever, that you can tell on film that he just gets hit harder. Well, maybe so. He's a little bit thicker too, a little bit different build.
Yeah.
So who knows how that translates? He's had some bad injury luck, no question about it. But how much of that is just inescapable? That he's destined to have it. Sometimes the pendulum swings the other way. I never heard anybody talk about potential injury problems with Andrew Luck, and he's out of the league at 29 years old.
Yeah.
So you never know. It's believe me, as with all of them, yes, there's a risk reward. Of the three, if you ask me which one is likelier to end up in the Pro Football Hall of Fame, Burrow, Tua, or Justin Herbert, I would say Tua.
Yeah.
It's because maybe he won't, but if he reaches his potential, then he's got a really good chance of being that guy. So I think a lot of it is just keep the talk shows rolling, keep the interest level high. There's no question, and we're 8 days away, I guess, from the draft.
Yeah.
Week from tomorrow, and that's the number one story for the next 8 days, right up until he gets picked, and then that's the either he gets picked in the top 5, or then we have slide watch, right? How far is he going to go? Hey, tell me where they picked Mahomes. Tell me where they picked Lamar Jackson. And to say, tell me where they picked Manziel. And I'll tell you, you just don't ever know, man. And a lot of factors go into it.
Pretty amazing how Alabama topics drive these TV shows like the CFP selection show and the NFL draft, isn't it? If you're Nick Saban, you couldn't ask for more.
They know where their bread is buttered. They know what people want to hear. And that's all part of this. Is longer than you've got left in your show, but it's all part of the dynasty argument. Amazing how much more news we get sitting here in Tuscaloosa, Alabama. You hear more about the Cowboys than you do about the Chiefs. The Chiefs just won the Super Bowl, but I hear a lot more about every little thing that goes on with the Cowboys than I do with the Chiefs. That's just the way things are.
Party. Yeah.
Dak had a party. Dak had a big party. And that's a big thing.
Mm-hmm.
Whatever the Cowboys choose to do in the draft, it'll be a mess. The Titanic hitting the iceberg of all that would be if we're sitting here 8 days from now, 8 days and 6 hours from now, and the Cowboys trade up 4. Then what have you got?
Oh,
then what do you do? Then what's happening with that?
Tua's a Cowboy fan.
It's slightly, and obviously, as with everything, the coronavirus has overshadowed all stories. This has been the most amazing quarterback year that I can ever remember. I mean, you not only have you got a draft and how all that plays out, but that's going to affect where Cam ends up, where Jameis ends up. So it really is a fascinating storyline, and it is amazing how much of it ties back first to Alabama football, but also just because of those guys, the state of Alabama football as well.
It is. You're right. Jameis, Hueytown, Cam, Auburn, Tua here.
Phillip Rivers.
Heck, you could even talk about Jared Stidham with the Patriots from Auburn because of Brady's move.
He's in it. Rivers is in it.
Yeah.
And
you're right. In terms of an anticipated, in terms of an anticipated televised event, man, a week from tomorrow night. And you kind of wrote about this today too, the possibility of, I guess, college football with no fans in the stands in the fall. And think about television numbers in that scenario.
I don't know how that's all going to work out, but it's obvious that that's the last thing in the progression. That you may be able to get athletes that can travel and play. There's a million questions, and I don't pretend to have the answers. I have to discuss them. It's important to discuss them. I get tired of people who say, if you try to have a mature discussion about these very complicated issues, and you get these people who come on and say, well, you just don't want football. You're just a pessimist. You just want to shoot down any optimism. No, I want to discuss what the realistic facts are that will get football back in some form, and then in what we would now call its previous form, and discuss it. Discussing it does not mean that you have a magic wand with which you invoke it.
Right.
You do not speak it into existence. You try to have a mature discussion, but then you immediately get people just don't want football, just don't like optimism. And that's fine. If optimism works for you, please be optimistic. Say everything's going to be. Say September 2. Alabama's going to run out there against Southern Cal with 90,000 fans, and if that's what you think, then that's great. And I hope you're right. I 100% hope you're right. But in lieu of that, there are a lot of real, actual issues that have to be discussed, not hoped for, not wished for, but discussed.
Yeah, ADs aren't taking that approach right now, right? I can promise you.
No, they
conferences, they're not taking that approach.
They can't. They can't. They've got to figure out what they can do. It's funny because I wrote, as you know, and we talked about it on there, and I wrote what's going on over 3 weeks ago now about condensing the schedule down to nothing but conference games. Mm-hmm. And I heard somebody today asking Ryan Day, why don't you just play conference games? What a good idea that would be. I wish I'd thought of it 3 weeks ago. But maybe that'll happen. Maybe it won't. Chris Fowler talking about not playing until after January. Maybe that'll happen. It'll be like the inversion. People talking about the Masters going head to head with football. Maybe there won't be any football yet when they play the Masters. Maybe it won't be starting for another couple of weeks. Just don't know yet. Too many issues, too many moving parts. Would the best thing be for everything to be perfect on Labor Day? Yes, that would be wonderful. Does that seem to be the direction that we're headed? And is it going to happen just in one fell swoop that Superman's going to come down and fix it? No. There'll be a progression, and people will work out the most logical timeline. Colleges want to play. There's not any doubt, and the media that covers college football wants them to play. That's very important. It's very crucial. Just got to figure out the best way to do it. Got to figure out what the television partners who supply a large amount of revenue will do. I'll still stick to what I wrote 3 weeks ago. I think you may see some condensation in the schedule and expansion of the playoffs. But I don't know that. So we'll just have to see. But you got to discuss these things. You can't just sit back and say everything's going to be okay. And then those are the people that will be most upset on Labor Day if it's not okay.
You got that right. All right, Cecil, we appreciate it as always. And
sure.
Good stuff, and look forward to doing it again next week.
Okay, sounds good.